well, we started those talks during the Corona lockdown in 2020, and it was like a way to connect people, to connect our community. And so we just kept this idea up, and thought it's nice to invite people to share knowledge, to get together, to support the community. And that's why we, from this emotional first aid Europe group, we would like to keep on to do those meetings. And it's really an honor, Karlton, to have you here tonight. I think it's in a way also great to have the opportunity to speak to somebody overseas, like sitting together everybody's at home in a cozy place, and still we can share, we can meet, we can be together. And as you said, it feels quite comfortable. And I just realized that, some people also, which probably from the pre and perinatal work, which continue to do the emotional first aid work with Thomas, and it's nice to get together again. So we will be talking for 1 hour approximately, and then there's the opportunity to ask questions. You can put on your micros then and just participate. And if something is not working with your technically, Bettina maybe will or can help you with the chat. You're in the chat, is it? Yeah. So you know already how it works. And I would like to introduce you, Karlton, to the audience, the people listening a little bit, how I understand what you do. And you're I think an international acknowledged trainer and also an experienced therapist in pre and perinatal psychology and psychotherapy, and we're a trainee of William Emerson, who is I think one of the pioneers in pre and perinatal work. And when I got to know you, you worked in William Emerson's team, and were traveling to Switzerland to do classes. And I think you're one of the few somatotropic therapy trainers of William Emerson's work, if I understand that right, and developed on this basis also your own approach in working with babies and parents. As I understand, your work with babies, children, and parents is has the goal to support this kind of new neurological links in the brain by allowing new positive or corrective body experiences, which have the potency to disconnect experiences from trauma elements. So that's how I also experienced the work I learned from you. And I think also the support of the whole process by accurate empathy, and also by I think this empathy based on this baby body language, where you have a focus in this active and fixed baby body language to help parents to see their child, to understand it, and individually support it. I think that's a big strength in your work that I also had the honor to get to know and to learn from you. And when I was preparing this talk, I remembered how we met in Büttenhard. It was about 18 years ago. I don't know if you remember. It's a long time ago. And at that time, I was in the training of biosynthesis with David Bordella. I don't know if you know him, and he was also one of those pioneers who just taught that the experiences a baby is having pre and perinatal is affecting a lot of things like emotions and contact and character and movement, whatever, embodiment. So that was the first time I came in contact with this knowledge, and then I thought, wow, that's interesting. And at the same time, I gave birth to my son, and that was actually why I called Franz Renkli that time in Switzerland, and he's living close by to me in Basel. And he said, well, no problem, come to me, you can work with me with families and learn like once a week. And then he said, you have to come to Büttenhard. There are two Americans, pioneers, great guys. They are giving classes. You just have to join. And I was about 35 or something. And I went to this class and realized, well, that's the advanced group of pre and perinatal therapists, and there was this group around Franz Renkli and Peter Schindler, Rose Drescher, and Franz just took me into, or just invited me in this group, and I had actually no idea, and I was not brave enough to ask any question, because I thought, well, can't only be stupid what I ask here, because it was so new for me. But I was fascinated, and it was a big chance to get to know William and you and Julian and all those people participating. And that was actually where we founded ISPPM Switzerland in Büttenhard. And I was also part of that group. And then we invited you to Basel several times for baby clinics, and did this baby therapy training on the Wasserfallen, and I had the chance to learn from you there, to participate, and then also as a mom and as a family we could work with you with our daughter, which was a very special experience. And when I think back to this time and to the experiences I made with you, I remember your presence and your empathy, also your open heart. I remember being seen as a soul with the challenges, and also acknowledgement of what was and is. A deep listening and understanding, and I think that's like the power or the uniqueness of you as a person and of being a therapist. So it's I think that you were an important teacher also for me in this field of pre and perinatal work. And the other teacher is Thomas, who is like who taught me with the emotional first aid, a lot of structured element, when to work with parents, and when do we do what, and when do we not do something, and how do we connect, and how do we work body oriented in the moment. So for me also it was a really great synthesis to have the pre and perinatal knowledge, and also the this work of the body psychotherapy elements of the emotional first aid. So I think it's great that we can hear you today and hear from you, hear from your way into this work, your path, the destiny maybe. And I know that the last years were not so easy for you. You had big health issues and quite a challenge yourself to face. And so I'm really happy that we got in contact again last summer. I think you contacted me and said, well, I'm on track again. I have some new ideas. And we are very curious to hear about those ideas and those new concepts you have in your mind. And I would like to ask you first to take us a little bit on your journey. How did you become a baby therapist? Who was important for you on this journey?
It started out with a horse.
With a horse?
Yeah. Yeah, I fell off this horse and broke a vertebra in my back, and I squashed a disc, and I was in my 30s, and I had a surgery, and they fixed my back in the allopathic surgical approach, which I think, sometimes it's important for us to have the access to, like I said before, these sort of godlike, narcissistic surgeons. And so I started riding horses again, probably a little bit too soon, and I fell again. I'm not that good of a rider compared to the people I was riding with, and I my next disc up was squashed, and I thought, God, if they take that disc out and I keep riding horses, I may be 2 inches shorter by the time I retire after they've taken out all my discs. So I was in my 30s, I chose to try acupuncture and chiropractic and rolfing and massage, and I was separating from my wife, and we were going to a therapist, and she referred me to another therapist who did birth regressions. So I was doing all of this sort of new methods of healing, and she said, we're inviting this guy named William Emerson to come to a workshop. I want you to come to it. This was, I guess it was like 32 years ago, something like that. Anyway, I was just made for doing regressions, and in his class, it dropped deep into my stage 2 challenges, and tried turning my head, and I felt like I was going to pass out, and William kind of came over and patted me on the shoulder and said, you're doing great, keep it up. And I had a really deep regression. I really felt my cells in my body remembering, this idea of implicit memory. It's like in that regression, all my cells had a megaphone, and all these fluids, and it was crying, and snot was coming out of my nose, and I don't know, wax was coming out of my ears. I really was changed in that moment, and I couldn't see very well afterward. One of my eyes was really fuzzy, and I got worried that I'd injured my eye or hurt myself doing in the present time doing this regression. And so I went to my eye doctor, who was a friend of mine, and he tested me, and he said, whoa, something's wrong here. Let me look at my notes. He got on my notes, and he said, hang on. He went over to this cabinet And on top of the cabinet, he had dusted off this old box and opened it up, had these lenses in it, like really beautiful velvet case, like they used to do in the old days. And he said, close your eye, open your other eye, and look through this lens. See if you can see that white car out there. And I said, you mean the one with license plate RZ2567? He said, I don't believe it. You can read that? And my vision had improved by like 250%. Improved from that.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, I was convinced. Now I know that I had a serious birth trauma in that eye, and that the eye muscles, some of them have been fixated in like a hypotonic state, and other ones were fixated in a hypertonic state. I think my optic nerve might have even been shrunk a little. And that released in one session, changed my vision. So I thought, man, this is for me. So that's how I got into this world of, it was a very convincing doorway that opened for me.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, that's like a living proof for what potency is in this kind of experiences. Yeah. Okay. And then you learned from William, or you?
Well, I had a teacher named Margaret Grant, and I went to her, and she'd studied with Stanislav Grof, and she did breath work, and we did birth regressions together, and she invited different practitioners. She invited a guy named Paul Brenner. I don't know if he's well known in Europe, but he was a wonderful teacher. He taught me palpation and permission and feeling the field, and I had my own business then. So I was lucky enough that I could travel whenever I wanted to. So I went to all of William's workshops, whether they were in California or Atlanta or Colorado or Seattle. We had some, and one night William invited me out with the organizers, and we were hanging around, and William and I got to be really close friends because I saw him so much. And I think he was lonely for a certain type of contact with a man or a peer or something like that. So we really, and I kind of idolized him. And for him, I was kind of like the golden boy. So we had this great positive transference going back and forth between us. And one day we were in Atlanta. I think we were in Atlanta, Georgia, and we were up in this, he snores. And we were up in this room stuck together with these two little beds on the floor, and I was trying to sleep, and he sounded like he had a rough night, coughing, and we woke up, and he said, "Oh, Karlton, you're gonna have to go down and teach because I don't feel good." And it happened to be a group that were all lesbian. And I was scared that they wouldn't like me, or that they would hate me, or that I was a man, and my little boy was sort of quivering. And basically we were teaching a stage 2 class, rotation class, and how it works physically and somatically and psychologically and emotionally, and even at the level of the soul. And I got into it, I just started, I didn't even think about what I was going to say. I just started flowing. And I've never had so many hugs from lesbians in a row in my life. They loved it. And they did beautiful work, and they trusted me. I loved them, and William kind of came down, in a wrinkled shirt, scratching his head. How's it going down here? And they were happy, and he was happy, and I was happy. And so by doing my own work and hanging out with William, I learned a lot by osmosis. And at one point, he invited me to come teach in Switzerland. And before that, I started, here's this funny thing that happened. I was organizing him to come to Denver. And so I was the organizer for Denver, and he would come to Denver and Boulder and do classes in Denver and Boulder, mostly in Boulder. And something weird happened with some people who were supposedly doing birth sessions. These women were holding a girl in a blanket who was struggling to get out and saying, "I'm stuck. I can't breathe." And the practitioners were just irresponsible. They were talking. Actually, there's a recording that ended up in a court proceeding. The recording got played, and they were talking about how much they charge and what kind of jewelry they like. Well, this girl was saying, "I can't breathe. Let me out of here." And she actually, they just thought she was in a regression, and she died. She died. And Colorado passed a law that you cannot do force-based birth regressions in Colorado. And so I had recruited like 30 really hungry, really curious practitioners, mostly from Boulder, and the type of people that we really wanted to reach like craniosacral practitioners and lactation experts and a lot of important baby workers were coming. And William said, "Look, I can't come. I can't come out there after what happened. It's just it's too risky for me." And so I just taught the course myself. I don't know what kind of risk I was taking, but I ended up teaching the whole course. And so then I started doing course after course in Boulder. And while I was teaching, I kind of I reorganized William's curriculum so that it actually was a curriculum. He was sort of a wonderful genius who came up with this stuff, but he didn't really do it in order. And so I was organizing his courses the way I thought they should be taught, and sort of adopted some of them. And he invited me to Budenhart to co-teach. So I would teach one class, and then he would teach the next class. And I was like so nervous because he sent me the class list, and I was like, wow, Ludwig Janus is one of the students, and all the people you named, and they're people I'd read their articles, and they were older than me, and I was like, oh shit, I better study. So I was supposed to teach stage 2. And so I went over everything, and I knew it back and forth, but I wanted to make sure. And I took notes, and I took a file, and I had all this stuff under my arm. And I met everybody in a circle, and I started teaching. William had told me, you got to teach stage 2. And after about an hour and a half, the Swiss people were very polite. They were listening to me. And finally, someone raised their hand. And I said, yes. And they said, Karlton, I'm sorry, but William taught this course last time. So I was like, okay, well, let's do stage 3 then. And so I sort of hit the ground running and taught stage 3. And it was wonderful. It was such a wonderful group of compassionate people who were doctors, and psychiatrists and psychologists, and also from the world of more naturopathic specialties. But, we don't have a level of interest in America coming from doctors and psychiatrists. They don't want to hear what we have to say. So anyway, that's how I got started. And then four, I think, of the people that I was teaching asked me, because they had their own, clients and big clientele, and they were doing their own workshops, and they asked me to come teach. So all of a sudden I was coming to Switzerland and Germany and teaching like 3 or 4 courses back to back that were organized by these wonderful colleagues who had been students of ours.
Yeah, I remember that time. What would you say are your main focuses in working with parents and babies? I mean, also in developing this own kind of teachings and classes.
Connie, it's really changed in the last year for me. I retired pretty much for about 5 or 6 years, and I still was supervising, 30 or 40 practitioners, but I wasn't doing workshops, and I wasn't doing very many private sessions. And after my last surgery, which was 15 hours of general anesthesia and surgery, I don't know where I was or where I went to, but when I got back, I wasn't the same. And my brain was really different. But I also was getting, inspirations from a new place. And I had to stay in bed for a few months, and on pain meds. And so I was sort of drifting around in this other realm, and it was very rich. And I realized that, but I can teach other practitioners, and I can go to groups of, classes with 30 people in them, and I can do demos with babies. And how many people do I reach, and how many people do I help? And I was doing a lot of stuff on Zoom, and I was in bed a lot, and I got into Instagram, and I started looking up birth things on Instagram, and I was amazed that there's this huge blossom of hundreds and hundreds of young women who are doulas or who want to be doulas.
I didn't understand.
Doulas.
Doulas, yes.
Yeah. Doulas. And I can, and in Instagram, I had never been on Instagram before, and you could see what they were interested in, and you could feel the way they were yearning. They want so sincerely to help at a birth. They want to do good. Yeah. They want to change the world in a good way, in their own little world. And I just sort of realized, my little flame can't really start a fire big enough to make a difference in the world as it is now. I can't do it. And I realized that it's too late. I can't stop climate problems or race problems or hubris or corrupt politicians. I don't think anybody can. We're working at it, and I don't know how effective we are, but I realized that the evils or the darkness or the demons in the world are reflecting back to us what's in the unresolved psyche of our population. All the pain, all the fears, all the competition, all the neediness that isn't healed, it takes form outside of us, so that we have to look at it. And so we've unconsciously created this world. As a population, we've created this world, and it's getting reflected back to us, and I can't change it. I can't even make a dent, I don't think, in a little place, but I realize who can. And it's nobody here on the planet. Nobody, I don't think. But who can change are the people who are coming. The people who aren't here yet. And if we change the way we treat them as a culture, we won't have to do anything. The world will change. Neediness and selfishness and greed and toxic competition just go away because people will not be afraid.
Well, that's also what we discuss a lot, that if we do the work we do with the babies and the parents in an early state, that we are kind of, we do some kind of peace work. Like
these babies will write the history of the future.
Mm-hmm.
And if and so how do I reach them? And it's not lecturing to colleagues and people who are already working. It's finding people who don't know yet what they're hungry for. They're hungry for something. These doulas, these young doulas, they love it. They're eager, and my dream is to teach them how to see what the babies have been through, so they can have compassion, and so they can acknowledge the journey, which is full of pain. You can't get born without pain. And as a complete culture, we ignore the pain. I think it's because when you see a baby, if you look at the baby's pain, it just hurts too much to see for a normal person. It breaks your heart to see an innocent little baby suffering. So we all have on a special pair of glasses that have a veil that obscures the pain that babies are begging to have addressed. So we have colic, which doesn't exist. There's no such thing as colic. It's actually, colic here is defined as persistent unexplained crying, and nobody knows why. Well, we know why. It's because there's implicit memories of trauma in the body that need to be released and can easily be released. Mm-hmm. So my goal now is to reach as many young people as I can. So I have to get into this realm of TikTok and Instagram and teach doulas at a level that they can handle it without risking reactivations or projections. So I was trying to figure out how can how can I do pre and perinatal light? Because the work is so deep, it's so easy to drop deep into it if you haven't done your own work. And maybe someday more and more people will have worked with, Thomas and Matthew and they'll know themselves well enough to see clearly what's going on and not be projecting or getting activated themselves. So there's this combination that came together. How can I reach more people, including lots and lots of doulas who are much younger, who are going to be around the people who aren't here yet? And how can I do it in days of COVID? And that all kind of came together with this idea that I'm calling it a birth mask reveal. Mm. You know how they have these gender reveal parties? That's a big thing in America. I don't know if it's kind of weird. But anyway, what I'm doing is I help people, mothers and fathers, see what their baby has been through during birth. That's all. We do it without the baby present. We do it with the frontal neocortex working and not a regressive component to it. The baby's not around. We work on a photograph. And so I've been doing these kind of experimentally, and it works. And so I'm kind of committed to this new process now. And I'll show you a little bit about it if we have time later.
Yes, sure. That's great. So I hear like two aspects. One is the aspect of this group of doulas, which I think is interesting because I mean, the doula is in the end a person who is like present at birth. This maybe can be with the mother, with the baby. As you say, there will be maybe pain and fear on this process, but there's somebody there with them, mom and baby. And the other aspect is like the work you will show us to work with a photo of the baby to I would say bring parents or professionals in this kind of empathy or knowledge what the baby has experienced, to understand, to reflect, to in a way connect with this process of the experience the baby made on its journey. Did I understand that right? Like that, those both aspects?
Yeah, and I just work with birth. I just work with birth and showing the mechanics of birth. I don't do prenatal interpretations unless someone signs up for it. Yeah. So many babies you see on Instagram. Everybody's in love with their baby, and it's so astonishing to see people laughing when a baby expresses pain. They, oh, it's so cute. Don't cry, don't cry. And there it goes, one more veil separating us from what the baby needs. With well-intended parents who love their baby, they want to have babies and have planned babies and read about it and have a healthy baby and try to have a home birth, but they're completely missing what the baby's begging for.
So that's this series you show like in this so cute question mark.
Yeah, beyond.
Like it's cute, and then you show the birthmarks and the pauses and the pain.
Yeah, I call it beyond cute because we like, wow, your baby's beyond adorable. Your baby's beyond
cute, genau. Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get people to see beyond what's cute and have the courage and the awareness to say, oh my God, that's not a smile. That is my baby gritting his left side of his jaw because it was on a lie side that got pressed into a lumbosacral promontory. And that's all. You just say, that's why. So you see, it doesn't drop into a regressive pool that you lose the tolerance threshold of the parents. Mm-hmm. Often it's only the mother I'm working with, but I'm going to try to look at a birth. Most births in our cultures, the baby's the last person that people think about. Mm-hmm. You know, they're with the mom, and we talk about how painful it is, you know, for the mom, and dad's there, and they're all, you know, the baby is alone and in the dark. And if a doula just knows that and holds the field for the whole family, including the baby, not just massaging the mother's back, wow, that makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. And I just got a new download. I don't know where it came from, but I realized that one of the big causes of postpartum blues. I figured it out. It's so obvious. These babies are being born with unresolved trauma. It's implicit in their memory, and they are continuously expressing it with crying or colic, or some babies are in so much trouble they're just a quiet baby, a good baby. And there's so much unresolved emotional content that they're producing, biologic information. They're producing, neuropeptides and catecholamines, and their bodies fill up with it. And we have this phenomenon of extracorporeal peptide reaching, where when you're filled up with anger, your anger literally releases from your body, and it can be absorbed by the person next to you who has the same kind of receptor sites on their skin. So mothers are spending all day long with this new baby soaking in trauma peptides coming from the baby. No wonder they have the blues. There's a lot of postpartum doulas who can work with releasing the postnatal trauma in babies, and the blues go away. Mm. But that's sort of new. I haven't developed that much. I'm really right now mostly structural and visual.
Yeah. Interesting. Would you like to show us an example of your...
Yeah, sure. I've got someone dialed up here already.
This work.
Ready?
Yep.
There's somebody we love. Right?
Yes.
You just take a look at this sweet face, and just the first thing you say is, how cute. Look at those cheeks. Look at that sweet, adorable face, and look at the curiosity and the presence in her eyes. Right? I mean, that's what I say. I think you might have said something like that too.
Yes, sure. That's my daughter.
And bless you for being such a, look at, you don't see babies with this amount of presence in their eyes unless it's being received. And so thank you for being such a good mommy, Connie. I bet you're just soaking it up, and she's like, wow. So let's acknowledge that. That's what we see. It's is there. It's on the surface. It's what's mostly there. Now let's look at, I did this in advance. I normally do it, here we go. So this is just the eyes. Let me get rid of this. Do you notice this eye is a little bit lower? Can you see that, Connie? Mm-hmm. Just that eye's a little bit lower. And if you look at the middle of her nose, this eye is a little bit closer. Do you see that too?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's not a lot. I mean, in some babies, it's very dramatic, and some adults, it's very dramatic. And this eye is actually recessed. It's farther back in the head than the other eye. Mm-hmm. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what I often do is I will explain why. You guys already know why. I mean, it's how did this happen? You know? And here's the funny thing. Now look at, and you see it. You can't help but see it now. And parents are like, oh my God, I never realized. And you keep it at that social level. You don't talk about how hard it was. Mm-hmm. You just say, look what she went through, and you can go. I go through and explain about the eye muscles and about the LSP, and I like this drawing. It shows how tight it is, for one thing. And it shows the pressure of the LSP on the eye, making it closer. And it talks about drag and shows how if the baby goes forward, the drag is in this direction and that eye becomes lower. So I have this little kit of information that I have for students that talks about drag and light side phenomena and the LSP. And we go over the eye muscles a little bit. I'm not an anatomist, and I can't claim to know much about the brain and eye muscles. I just know how it works in connection with getting healed from the work we do, but I don't know that much about it. Got a little baby's head here. So there are these kits that I'm putting together that the moms get. And then dad comes home and he's like, what? Show me. And they can look at things that aren't hocus pocus and understand what happened. Mm-hmm. Of course, I don't do it at this speed. I'm working with a bunch of experts in the moment, so I'm going very fast. And now let's have a look at this face. So damn cute. Look at her hair. How did it get like that? I bet somebody was touching her head.
Well, she always had this huge amount of hair, and they had to put somehow,
Look at it now. I'm amazed.
Yeah.
So let's look at this. The nose of Huma. Look at this. See this blue spot right there? What do you suppose causes that? A lot of babies have it. It's from broken bones. And in my world, look, all these bones have been broken here on this person. They're intact here. Intact here. This is maybe, I don't think Huma were this serious, but these are all broken. In my book, you see this suture right here? Mm-hmm. If that bone from that suture, if that one bone is broken, you have a broken bone. It's a broken bone. It's a fracture. And what happens is, look, you have I'll just do this real quick. Here are studies from different cases that talk about broken bones, and here's one that's 21.8 with nasal deformities, and here's 20%, and I think there's one here with 30%, so it's acknowledged as a common birth issue, but not at the fine criterion we use. Mm-hmm. And if you use that criterion, there are a lot of broken noses out there. I'm just working on a newsletter. I'll send it to you if you want. I'll send it down on my email list, but where is it? I want to show you a page from my newsletter. LMN. Oh, here we go. Newsletter excerpts. Wait, is this one? No, sorry. Let's try this one. Birth mask. Payday. This is a newsletter that's coming out, but while we're talking about noses, I think this is the one with noses. Maybe it's not. Did you get a newsletter from me, Connie?
No, actually not.
You didn't?
I just saw it on Instagram that you created one, but I didn't get an email.
I
Send
thought
it to me, then we can forward it also to people.
Let's see, newsletters. Well, shoot. I wanted to show you some noses. I know where they are, so I will get them a different way. Let's see, they're in here. They are, I think they're in here. LMN, movie stars. Okay. You guys know Adam Driver? He's pretty famous now. Oh, here's Meryl Streep. We all know Meryl Streep. And I'm going to show you a baby, really sweet baby, who needs his mom to understand what's going on in his world. Eyes, noses, nasal anatomy. Eyesight analysis and baby. Well, I'll look for him in a minute, but have a look at Meryl and tell me what you see, Connie. Tell me about, you see her nose?
Yeah, it's in a kind of a way. It goes to the left side in a way.
Yeah, it may not be broken, but it definitely is pushed over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from birth. Here's Adam Driver. His nose was broken here, and then this flat spot on the upper lateral cartilages, and it was broken here. At least 2 times his nose was broken. Here's a baby I want to show you. Maybe it's on Instagram. Let me see.
Then we have to watch the time a little bit, Karlton.
Okay.
I'm just
going to show you this one nose, and then I'll stop. And you can ask me questions while I'm looking. No, let's stop. I want to listen to you. So anyway, babies. This baby has some broken bones in here. And if you look at the anatomy, see, now you can see, look how this nose has pushed to her right. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty clear, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Once you see it. So, this is nose anatomy. You guys know all this, I bet. It's new to me. But these are the places where noses get injured. We'll call them nasal impacts rather than broken noses, because we don't want to freak anybody out with this intense language of broken bones and noses. But often there's an issue at the frontal nasal suture area, and then the upper lateral cartilages often get impacted, and then the alars. So with Huma, it's all 3. This is her frontal nasal sutures are probably up here somewhere. And you see how flat her upper lateral cartilage area is? It's flat there. And then the alars have been pushed to the left. And let me show you a baby who really got a real broken nose. And this baby's crying, and the mother has no idea, because this baby's been fed, he's been changed, he's not cold, he's not hungry, he's been burped, and he's crying. And he's saying, I was a left-sided lie, my nose was broken at least 2 times, and it hurts inside. And he's saying that over and over and over again until either his parents understand and he can unload some of his burden with them, or until it gets repressed inside and never gets noticed. It gets pushed in like a spring, and then it'll come out later in some form. So that's a very brief tour of this kind of stuff I'm working on now.
Well, and if I remember the birth of Huma, there was this moment when she was, when I thought it will, oh, what's the word in English? It will, it was rotation, and by she in this turning point, it was like I felt I nearly explode, and she really had to go against pressure. So,
yeah.
So I can. I mean, there was also an experience coming with that, so I can really also understand that she had to fight against this resistance. So
Yeah,
I felt it.
just you knowing that makes a difference. Part of the course that I'm putting together teaches what to say to the parents and what, now they know what happened, what can they do? We don't want
That would be my next question, how is knowing and empathy like momentum in the therapy, or does it just help you to be more empathic in the emotional processes, like helping your child, or does it need more work of like a kind of process work? It's also what we discuss a lot in our work, how much trauma focus do you have to have, how much strengthening of the parents in the attachment competencies are actually the momentum which support the babies in integrating this trauma.
I try to stay at the level of social media, not process. And I tell the parents, what can you do? You can, when your baby's crying and you say, oh honey, I realize now that you're crying because you feel something inside. Thank you. And maybe you could kiss the nose. That's all. Don't pull on it. Don't squish your baby's head with your hands. Just kiss her nose and say, oh, honey, maybe you're crying because your nose hurts still inside. It's a bit like this, you see. Stay out of process. And for a baby who's, I used to get a lot of comments and concerns and babies coming to my workshops and to me privately, like because there's hair pulling or ear pulling. Just constant, and it freaks parents out. And I Googled that the other day, and there were like 20 YouTube mothers who were desperate. Said, look what my baby's doing. She's got a bald patch here from pulling her hair out. Why is this happening? And nobody can explain it. And we know that this baby was, in this case, a right-sided lie, and they're trying to stretch out a crumpled tentorium. From they're pulling and pulling and pulling. And I say, don't you dare pull on your baby's ear. No, just, you can hold it. You can kiss it. You can say, wow, I wonder if it hurts in there, honey. I love you so much. I hear you're really hurting. So you bring empathy, and you bring accurate empathy without process. And that way we keep it on as much as we can, and I go into more detail about this, but we keep it on a social level. Social media.
The social media, social level. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's sort of a basic quick outline of the new direction I'm taking. I still supervise some people. I still do some private sessions, but I want to train thousands of doulas that they can learn how to do this on their own with their babies.
So that's, would you say that's, your main focus for the time coming?
I don't know how long I have left, Connie, but yeah. Yeah. That's my job, is to help the culture tear this veil of repression and denial, tear it out gently, and see what has happened, see what's really happened beyond cute. And those babies will know that they're getting seen, They're not going to need to show up and pound their chests and push other people out of the way and say, here I am. And they're not going, they know those babies are going to get what they need. Food and love and empathy-wise. They're going to get what they need empathy-wise. And therefore, they know they're going to get what they need. So they don't have to sneak or steal or be corrupt or lie. And they also have room to look at other people and see, I'm going to be okay. It's a feeling throughout the body. It's just creating a different resonance of human being by acknowledging what is there, but what's been persistently ignored throughout our culture. Mm-hmm. It's there. We're surrounded by it. I mean, it's in the field. You walk to a grocery store and everybody's got it and nobody's looking at it and everybody feels it. You are influenced by what you don't know all the time. Mm-hmm. And I just want to open our eyes to it as a culture. Yeah. Well, that's a great mission. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure why they chose me, but I can't get away from it. I just stay up all night sometimes. But I think if being seen means being seen, being understood, being grown up with empathy means that you can also be in a healthy way empathetic for other people, then I think that's what our world needs. And so I think that's quite a nice moment probably to finish our talk here. So as you said, beyond cute means being seen, means being able to be open and empathetic. And yeah. Once you do it, the fear of doing it goes away. It's okay to do it. It doesn't hurt you. It heals you. Mm-hmm. The truth. Yeah. So, and I think that's what we need at that time. We don't have the time to talk about it now, but we discussed a little bit beforehand that especially the pandemic and the fear and the danger of it also activates pre- and perinatal trauma. And I think so we always have those circles coming up and up again. And I don't want to end with this maybe difficult perspective, but maybe with this this other focus of the potential that we all, by doing our work, I think are supporting to help mothers and babies and parents, families to be present and to be present in the moment, being with their babies and
more being than doing with the babies, and
Mm-hmm.
where all our approaches come together. And I thank you very, very much for this talk and for your ideas. And I think we could go on talking for hours. But I would like to invite the people listening. I would like you to have room for your questions, for elements you would like to pick up, and just open this room. You can just put your micro on and ask a question if you would like to ask Karlton something which interests you. Let's see who would like to participate. Also traut euch ruhig was zu fragen. Ich kann auch übersetzen, wenn jemand das auf Deutsch fragen möchte, kann ich das versuchen zu formulieren für euch.
Okay, Karlton.
Yeah.
I would like to thank you for your deep sharing, and I really felt you in your, the big vision to change the world, and there must be a huge pain also to face that, and I really appreciate your courage to connect to these feelings and to make something with it. I'm really touched. I saw you for the first time today, and I just feel your depth and your devotion. Thank you.
Thank you. That touches me. This is a great reinforcement.
I've got the same question, maybe in the same direction. I can feel your brokenness. And do you think it's important to let this brokenness be happen to ourselves, to do this work? So this kind of empathy only comes out of really deep acceptance to our own brokenness.
Man, that's such a beautiful question. Funny, I my son is making my website and helping me with my teaching materials, and I have a new website. And a lot of times I get ideas late at night, and because I can't sleep and I'm in pain, I don't want to take drugs, and so I kind of like light a candle, and all of a sudden, that was an interesting thought. I should write that down. And I have had to surrender more than ever because of these last, I've had 15 surgeries, and I'm really deeply wounded and changed from them. I've had a lot of drugs. My brain isn't what it used to be. And obviously looking at being with our own brokenness is so important, especially if we can do it in a context of self-compassion or in the presence of a compassionate soul, because then you can feel safe enough to do it, and it heals you. And I told my son, Ollie, I wonder if I would be writing this stuff if I wasn't so wounded. And his thought was, actually you might be, but certainly whatever has been in you has to be visited and known about before you're telling the truth at that deeper level that's so important. If we're resisting our brokenness or thumping our chest, a lot of the surgeons, I've seen so many surgeons the last few years, they work so hard and they're so good at what they do. I mean, imagine standing for 15 hours and doing, what my surgeon did for me. And he is really broken. He's really traumatized by the trauma that he is enveloped in all the time. And he can't acknowledge it. He goes over it. And a colleague of mine who's a doctor said, surgeons are having the highest rate of burnout of any doctors, and they just burn out. And so that's the brokenness saying, look, you have to deal with me. You have to be with me. You have to know about me because it's the truth. And if we're ignoring and repressing the truth, it doesn't go away. It finds a way to get to you. And boy, it get to me. So I've had to surrender, and my life is completely different. And I'm still there, I'm still surrendering, and I'm in a new phase now. But yeah, I've been broken. Yeah. And I love myself. I love what I've been through. And I hope I can help people from a deeper place because of it. Am I kind of answering your question?
Yes, more than that. It really, it just brings me to tears because it really opens up this room to get in contact with all. I can feel the empathy, and this was the question after that. Is empathy enough? And if it's empathy comes out of this deep heart and this own brokenness, it's enough. It just opened up the space and the room. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, it's enough. Imagine how lonely it is for a baby when nobody knows what is really happening. And imagine how that changes when its mother knows. It melts. Now, sure, there's more. I mean, there's great baby therapy. I always send my babies to craniosacral practitioners and osteopaths, but only ones who have deep compassion and who've done some work on themselves. Yeah.
It's also a question that comes up quickly when naming those processes with the babies. I think it's a very delicate way how you approach the parents so they don't feel guilty. That's what we are always asked when we are teaching. How do you do that?
Yeah.
You really support parents to come into empathy and not some kind of guilt. Say something to that. I mean,
yeah. I'm going to address that in the course because it's so easy for parents to slip. No mother feels like she's a good enough mother, but they know that that they were doing their best, and they feel your compassion even on Zoom. And part of the class is to make sure that the protocols of treatment are not activating shame in the parents, and that you're not getting activated, But that's a big part of it. And it can't be done without it. You know, the mothers have to be supported at a level of their tolerance threshold, and then at a social level above that, so that it's not processed. But it opens their eyes, you know, and all I have to do is kiss my baby's ear. Yeah, that's all you have to do. See what happens. I get these calls. I didn't do anything, and he stopped crying at night. You know, it's the field getting shared that takes all this pressure off the baby. And every baby, like every kid, needs to be seen. I mean, I've never seen a kid not say, "Look at me, Daddy, watch me. Hey, I'm over here, look what I'm doing." You know, they need to be seen. And newborns who've been through so much, when you see them, they're like, it melts. And if someone wants to take it deeper, then I have resources for them that they can do, you know, with competent practitioners.
If they want to dive in deeper and
yeah.
Hi, Karlton. My name is Anita. Thank you for your insights and thoughts and feelings you've been sharing. I'm wondering, how can we understand, or how can we put birth trauma in the big picture? I mean, obviously, mankind was designed to go through birth trauma. Otherwise, we all wouldn't be here today. And in some ways, we seem to have lost touch to put ourselves into the perspective of babies. So do we know anything about ancient cultures integrating the perspective of babies? How have we come so far to actually, you know, that we have to relearn and to unveil the truth or the perspective of the baby? I'm kind of stunned to observe that this happened to mankind. Is there any ideas on that? I mean, you know, why did that happen? Doesn't make sense.
I agree with you. I mean, a lot of it changed at the Industrial Revolution, but even before that, things began to change, mostly with white men needing power. And I'm not an expert, I'm not an anthropologist. I have friends who they call themselves Indians because they're old indigenous people who still call themselves Indians. Now you call them Native Americans or indigenous people. And you can see that those tribes, and I can tell some of the ancient tribes did this, and I'll tell you how I know in a minute. Their children had to be cared for because survival was a little bit tougher. You know, we can just go down to the store and buy food and come back and lay down and watch TV and have a pizza and a glass of wine and no problem. But their communities had to survive as a whole organism. The beauty of that is that I think indigenous babies and ancient babies probably too were raised by a tribe. And a tribe means there are more women involved who, it might be true, but some people think women are more easily empathic than men. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. Some of us men aren't so bad, but the idea of being raised by a tribe is all about being seen, and you're seen in different perspectives, and you're seen and you're talked about, you're noticed, you're shared, and your own natural proclivities are encouraged, and one of the children is going to become a hunter, and one of the children is going to become a basket maker, and one of the children is going to become a runner and explorer because of who they are at the level of their soul. And one of the cool things about living here in Santa Barbara is that I'm in Chumash country. Chumash have been decimated by the Spanish, but they were the big tribe that was here for 10,000 years before the Spanish arrived. And they were the most sort of advanced American Indian tribe in terms of travel, and they had a lot of resources. They're here in the ocean. They had fruit falling from the trees. They had, all kinds of food, all kinds of animals, and a pretty good life. They built little towns. The men took a sauna every day and a hut, and then they would jump in a cold stream, and then they would have a meeting. And in that meeting, they would talk about their tribe, their neighborhood, and who needs what every day. And they would do that in they had a scraper where they scraped the sweat off and cleansed themselves. And they studied the stars, and they had astronomers. They did these beautiful cave paintings, and they came up with amazing stories of humor and empathy. Some of those stories were saved, about 5 of them. If you read these original stories, there's always a coyote, of course. And here we have swordfish, and the coyote sometimes goes in the ocean and hangs out with the swordfish and does all kinds of magical things. But it's always about figuring out what's right at the end of the day and doing what should be done in their immediate cultural and social environment. And we don't do that anymore. Somebody goes to work, somebody's watching TV, and even when we went from into farming, it really began to isolate us from a tribal kind of a tribal nest into a focused approach with attachment to results, and it I think it destroyed a lot of empathy and mutual empathy. And certainly when the Industrial Revolution came, it just put an end to it all. That's kind of how I feel about it. We want to go back. I mean, I feel like if we're not working at the level of the soul, then we need to wonder why. If we're working, we have to do our best to be working at the level of the soul. And these bodies are just an expression of who that soul is. I mean, the way a person's face looks is what that soul has spent. My soul is wearing a hat today on this physical body, and my clothes are an expression of my soul and who I am, and my gestures and my face. And if we see into the soul and work with the soul, then we're moving beyond the alienation and the separation that's created all these maladies in the world. Yeah, empathy around birth, and empathy for children, and wisdom, and seeing children deeply will heal that. I think that's all we can do now. I mean, we can't invent something new mechanically or satellites. We have to get back to the soul and bodies. Did that address your question? Yeah, okay. Thanks for the question.
Maybe there's room for one more question, and then we have to I think then we have to close our chat room. Is there another question or comment or aspect you want to share?
Yes, I would like to reflect the work you did, Karlton, with Connie, because I was very surprised that you take her daughter and talk about the broken nose of Huma.
Mm-hmm.
And it still touches me that you do this so directly, because you said, now I do it in Instagram. So this is another kind of work. And I saw you once in Basel, and I'm really impressed by the close work you do, so sensitive, but also very close to the person. And I asked myself, how was it for you, Connie, to be touched like this? Were you surprised, or were you informed, or how was it to see Uma and all these reflections from Karlton? Yes.
Well, for me, it's always touching to hear to hear. I would say Karlton's empathy.
Mm-hmm.
But for me it was because we worked with Uma already, and we had worked on those themes before. It was not completely new for me.
Okay.
You know, it was not and I really have this empathy for this challenge she had to take, or we both had to take during birth. I think I'm in contact with it, or it's present in our history in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So, but still, you know, to have you all see it, and to have it shown again on it was first time on a photo. We experienced sessions in process when we were together, but I really like your kind of direct, but in the same way, as I said at the beginning, that's how I experience it. It's like acknowledging this kind of maybe journey, maybe pain, maybe fear, that this soul, I think it's really the soul level, had to face and to experience, which touches me in the language it's just a kind of your language and your expression, how you address it directly, which is really special, I think, Karlton. So even if it was not like a new element that added, it was like okay, again, it touches, it connects me with this story. I was in that moment again in during birth, and it happens very quickly. So
yeah, I want you to know
how I can express it. Yeah.
I want you to know that I went through that much more quickly and more direct than I do with a mother. Like when I showed you that picture of the broken bones of a skull, I would never show that to a mother unless I said, you know, there's a place here where the forehead bone meets the nose bone, and there's a suture here. Do you know what a suture is? And they explained what a suture is. And I said, do you think what would it feel like to look at an actual skull? Would that be okay? Or a drawing? And they're like, oh, drawing. So I can't show them a drawing. I couldn't show you a skull because I know your background. But yeah, it's a much different thematic protocol in person with a mother than it is with a group of experts.
but I like it too. You know, it's not a critic or something, but it was really touching, even for Connie's daughter, because we are all connected. And I think when you are on Instagram, I don't know a lot of the social medias, but I feel that the energy of heart and touching elements are coming through. And I hope it comes to the right place then, that people is touched and know how to deal with it.
Yeah, we really have to stay within the tolerance threshold of mother, and different mothers have different levels. So how deep you go with these diagrams depends on the tolerance threshold of the mom.
Well, thank you for this work. This was very impressive.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for encouraging me, because it's a small world. There aren't a lot of people in the boat with me, and it's good to get this feedback. Thank you.
Yes, I do.
So, Karlton, I would really love to thank you very, very much for your time and for your sharing, for your heart, for being here, and for connecting. And I hope that you got, as an audience, an impression of who Karlton is and what you know, your heart is how do you say, pounding for. And maybe if you are interested, and I just think about, well, we will send you somehow the webpage of Karlton and also the Instagram link, and then you can connect, and probably, if you're more interested, get in touch with you. So I think it's really great to get together and to talk and to communicate and to support this kind of global attachment. And I thank you very much for your time and for being here. And I know your day just started in America, so have a good day.
Thank you.
And for all of you, have a good night, and see you soon. I don't know what will be our next plan, but we will for sure continue those expert talks. And yes, have a very good time, and stay healthy. And I say good night to you all. Thank you, Karlton.